Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Empowerment and Illness. I am your host, Gwen. In our last episode, Amanda talked about living with lupus and Parkinson's disease. Today, let's conduct a dive-in expedition into a topic that often talked about but not always fully understood: Parkinson's disease. We explore what it is, the impact it has on those affected, and what we can do as a community to provide better support and understanding. Parkinson's is a condition that affects millions worldwide, yet remains a lot of mystery surrounding it. My aim today is to illuminate some of those shadows, not just from a medical standpoint, but also from a human perspective. So wherever you are, grab a comfy seat, something to drink, and join me as we dive into the world of Parkinson's disease. I want to take some time to break this down in a way that's easy to understand, because Parkinson's can be a bit of a mystery to a lot of people. It's one of those conditions that many have heard of. Maybe they know someone who has it, but they might not really know what it means. At its core, Parkinson's is a neurodegenerative disorder. That sounds complicated, right? But let's break it down. Neuro refers to the nerves or the nervous system, and degenerative means something that's gradually getting worse over time. So in simple terms, Parkinson's is a condition that affects the nervous system and gets progressively worse. Now, in Parkinson's, what happens is that certain nerve cells or neurons in the brain starts to die off. These neurons are located in a specific area of the brain called the substantia nigra. This part of the brain plays a crucial role in controlling movements, and these neurons produce a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is like a messenger. It helps transmit signals between different parts of the brain to coordinate movement. While those dopamines producing neurons die, the level of dopamines in the brain drop, and that's when the trouble starts. Without enough dopamine, it becomes harder for the brain to control and coordinate movement. But Parkinson isn't just about movement. It's a much more complex disease than that. The loss of dopamine affects many different systems in the body, which is why people with Parkinson's can experience a wide range of symptoms, both physical and mental. Now that we've covered the basis of what the disease is, let's dive deeper into the symptoms. One of the earliest and most recognizable symptoms is the tremor, particularly a resting tremor, which typically begins in one hand or arm. It's not like the shake you might get from being cold or nervous. It's a rhythmic and involuntary movement that occurs even when the limb isn't being actively used. Over time, this tremor can spread to other parts of the body and become more noticeable, impacting day-to-day activity. It can be really frustrating because it's something that the person has no control over, and it can make simple tasks like holding a cup of coffee really difficult. Then there's bradykinesia, or the slowing down of movement. This is more than just moving slowly. It's a struggle against your own body, or even simple tasks like getting dressed or walking can take significantly longer. This reduction in movement can be incredibly frustrating, as it affects a person's independence and ability to perform everyday tasks. It can affect everything from how quickly you get up out of a chair to how long it takes to brush your teeth. And it's not just that they're moving slowly, it's that their muscles aren't responding the way they used to. Things that used to be second nature now requires much more effort and concentration. Imagine knowing exactly what you want to do, but your body just won't cooperate as quickly as it used to. That's what people with Parkinson's deal with on a daily basis. To give you an example, think about something as simple as walking. For many people with Parkinson, walking becomes a challenge. They might have what's called a shuffling gait, where their steps are short and they have trouble picking up their feet. This can make them more prone to tripping or falling, which is a serious concern. Some people also experience something called freezing, where they suddenly feel like their feet are stuck to the ground and they can't move. This can happen out of nowhere, like when they're trying to step through a doorway or turn a corner, and it can be both frightening and confusing. Rigidity is another major symptom. This is where the muscles become stiff and less flexible. It's like having tight rubber bands around your joints, making it hard to move freely. Rigidity can affect any part of your body: arms, legs, necks, you name it. It can cause discomfort and even pain because the muscles are constantly tense. And it's not just about how it feels, it also affects how a person moves. Stiffness can make it hard to swing your arms when you walk or to bend down to pick up something. It's like the body's natural flexibility is lost. People with Parkinson experience changes in their speech. Their voice might become softer or more monotone, which can make communication difficult. They might also have trouble with swallowing, which is something most of us take for granted, but it can become a real challenge for someone with Parkinson's. If you have trouble swallowing, eating can be a challenge and increase the risk of choking or aspiration, where food or liquid goes down the wrong pipe and into the lungs. And then there are the non-motor symptoms, which can be just as debilitating as the physical ones. Many people with Parkinson's deal with depression and anxiety. This just isn't a reaction to having a chronic illness. These symptoms are actually part of the disease itself. The changes in the brain that cause the motor symptoms can also affect mood and emotions. Imagine having to deal with all that physical challenges of Parkinson's, and then on top of that, feeling constantly anxious or depressed. That's a lot to handle. Sleep problems are another big issue. People with Parkinson's often have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. They might wake up frequently during the night or have vivid dreams and nightmares. There's also something called REM sleep behavior disorder, where a person might act out their dreams, kicking and punching, or even falling out of bed. Needless to say, this can make for some very restless nights. Cognitive changes can also be part of the picture. As Parkinson's progresses, some people may experience problems with memory, attention, and thinking. This is something referred to as Parkinson's disease dementia, and it can make everyday tasks even more challenging. It's like trying to navigate life with a foggy brain. It can be incredibly frustrating and disorienting. Another aspect that's often overlooked is the impact on the autonomic nervous system. This part of the nervous system controls things like blood pressure, digestion, and sweating. Things we don't usually have to think about because our bodies just handle them automatically. But in Parkinson's, these systems can become dysregulated. For example, someone with Parkinson's might have trouble with their blood pressure dropping suddenly, which can make you feel dizzy or faint. They might also have digestive issues like constipation or problems with their sense of smell. So as you see, Parkinson is a really complex disease that affects much more than just movement. It's a full body condition that touches every aspect of a person's life. It requires a lot of courage, resilience, and support. It's about adapting to new challenges every day and finding ways to maintain a sense of independence and dignity despite these difficulties. It's crucial to understand this complexity to provide better support and care for those living with Parkinson's. Now that we've explored the symptoms of Parkinson's disease, let's talk about what it's like to live with it day in and day out. I want to take you on a journey through the daily life of someone with Parkinson's to really understand the challenges they face and the incredible resilience they show in navigating them. Living with Parkinson's means adapting to a new normal, a normal where everyday tasks can become monumental challenges. Imagine waking up in the morning feeling stiff and slow, your body not quite responding the way you want it to. For many people with Parkinson's, getting out of bed can be the first hurdle of the day. The stiffness and rigidity we talked about earlier might make it hard to stretch out and get moving. And once they're up, there's a slowness of movement, which means brushing your teeth and getting dressed will take longer than usual. Now, let's think about breakfast. For most of us, pouring a cup of coffee or spreading butter on toast is something we don't think about. But for someone with Parkinson's, tremors can make these tasks tricky. The hand may shake just enough to spill that coffee or make it hard to spread butter on the bread evenly. It's these small, insignificant things that add up and make everyday life more complicated. And it's not just about the physical challenges. There's also the emotional toll. Many people with Parkinson's feel a sense of frustration or even embarrassment when they struggle with tasks that used to be easy. It's a constant reminder that their body isn't working the way it used to. This can lead to feelings of sadness or anxiety, which, as we discussed earlier, are common symptoms of the disease itself. So there's this layered challenge of dealing with both physical limitation and the emotional impact. People with Parkinson's often become incredibly resourceful, finding creative solutions to the challenges they face. For example, someone might use special utensils that are easier to hold or wear clothes with Velcro instead of buttons to make dressing easier. These adaptations help maintain a sense of independence, which is so important. Let's circle back to movement again, specifically walking. As Parkinson's progresses, walking can become more difficult. To help manage this, many people with Parkinson's use mobility aids like canes or walkers to help them stay steady. Physical therapies also are a crucial part of managing the disease. It can help improve balance, strength, and flexibility. Some people also find that rhythm or music can help them move more easily. For example, listening to a steady beat might help them maintain a more regular walking pace. It's all about finding what works best for them and making those adjustments. And then there's the cognitive aspect. As we talked about earlier, Parkinson's can cause changes in memory and thinking. This might mean that someone who used to be very organized or detail-oriented finds it harder to keep track of things. They might start forgetting appointments or misplacing items more often. Social support is another key factor. No one should have to face Parkinson's alone, and having a strong support network can make all the difference. This might be family, friends, or a support group of people who are going through similar experiences. Being able to talk to others who understand what you're going through can be incredibly comforting. It can also provide practical advice and tips for managing the disease. But here's the thing, people with Parkinson's are incredibly resilient. They find ways to cope, to adapt, and to keep living their lives in meaningful ways. For many, maintaining a sense of purpose is crucial. Whether it's continuing to work, volunteering, pursuing hobbies, or spending time with loved ones, having something to focus on can make a huge difference. The unpredictability of Parkinson's is also a significant challenge. Good days and bad days can come without warning, making it hard to plan or maintain routines. This unpredictability requires a lot of patience and flexibility, both for those living with the disease and their caregivers. It also means learning to be gentle with oneself, understanding that it's okay to have days where things just don't go as planned, and that doesn't define you or your life. Medications are often the first step. They can help replenish the brain's dopamine levels, alleviating some of the motor symptoms like tremors and rigidity. However, its effectiveness can diminish over time, requiring adjustments or additional medications. There are also surgical options such as deep brain stimulation, DBS, which can be highly effective for some patients. DBS involves implanting electrodes in specific areas of the brain to help control abnormal impulses. This procedure is generally considered for those who no longer respond well to medication alone. But these medication treatments, therapies like physical, occupational, and speech therapy, play a crucial role in managing Parkinson's. Regular exercise can improve overall mood and mental health. Mental health care is equally important, addressing the emotional and psychological aspects of the disease. Counseling or therapy can provide strategies for coping with depression, anxiety, and other mood changes that often accompanies Parkinson's. Treatment for Parkinson's isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. What works well for one person might not be as effective for another. It's about finding that right balance of treatment that suits each individual's needs. Physical therapy is important as well. A physical therapist can work with someone to improve their strength, flexibility, and balance, which can help reduce the risk of falls and make everyday activities easier. Diet and nutrition are important. While there's no specific diet that can cure Parkinson's, eating a balanced, healthy diet can help manage symptoms and support overall health. For example, staying hydrated and eating plenty of fiber can help with digestive issues like constipation, which is common in Parkinson's. Some people also find that adjusting the timing of their protein intake can help improve the effectiveness of their medication. In the end, managing Parkinson's is about finding the right combination of treatment and therapies that works best for each individual. It's a journey of trial and error, adjustments, and adaptation. So what's on the horizon for Parkinson's disease? Where is the research headed, and what can we hope for in terms of better treatment or even a cure? One of the most exciting areas of research is in understanding the underlying causes of Parkinson's. While we know that loss of dopamine-producing neurons in the brain is central to the disease, there's still a lot we don't know about why these neurons die off in the first place. Researchers are exploring a variety of potential causes, including genetic factors, environmental exposures, and the role of inflammation in the brain. In terms of genetics, there has been some significant breakthroughs in recent years. We now know that certain genetic mutations can increase the risk of developing Parkinson's, although most cases of the disease are still considered idiopathic, meaning they don't have a clear cause. Understanding these genetic links is important because it opens up new avenues for treatment. For example, if we can identify specific genetic mutations that lead to Parkinson's, we might be able to develop targeted therapies that can slow or even prevent the progression of the disease in people who carry those mutations. Another exciting area of research is the field of neuroprotection. The idea is to develop treatment that can protect the remaining dopamine-producing neurons from further damage, essentially slowing down or altering the progression of the disease. One approach being studied is the use of antioxidants, which can help reduce oxidative stress, a process that can damage cells and is thought to play a role in the progression of Parkinson's. Researchers are also looking at anti-inflammatory drugs, as inflammation in the brain may contribute to neuron damage. Stem cell therapy and gene therapy are two cutting-edge areas that hold great promise. Imagine a future where you can replace damaged neurons or modify genes to prevent the disease from advancing. While we're not there yet, these developments are incredibly hopeful and could change the lives of millions. Another area of interest is the development of new drugs that can target the non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's. Researchers are working on new medication that can specifically address the non-motor symptoms, which would greatly improve the quality of life for people with the disease. Researchers are also looking into the gut-brain connection and the role of the microbiome in Parkinson's. Understanding these links can lead to early diagnosis and treatments. It's an exciting time in Parkinson's research, with every new discovery bringing us closer to more effective treatments and hopefully, one day, a cure. In the meantime, it's important for those of us who aren't researchers or doctors to stay informed, support research efforts, and advocate for the Parkinson's community. This might mean participating in a clinical trial, supporting a Parkinson's charity, or simply spreading awareness about the disease. Every little bit helps move us closer to a world without Parkinson's. Before we leave, I would like to close with a special portion of the show I call Healing Heartbeats. This is where we allow ourselves to wallow in sorrow. Give yourself 3 minutes to laugh, cry, scream, cuss, or just sit in silence. Whatever you need to do to feel it, do it. Let the depression in for only 3 minutes. Once you've reached the 3 minutes, compartmentalize it and get back to living. This is a rinse and repeat behavior. You cannot let depression take over, because when it does, it will not let go. When someone passes away, they have the day they were born and the day they passed away. There's a dash in the middle. It's not a long line, it's a short dash. That dash represents your life. Go live in spite of having a chronic illness. Don't let your condition stop you. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with some final thoughts on empowerment and what it means to live with Parkinson's disease. Living with a chronic illness like Parkinson's disease is undeniably challenging, but it's also a journey of resilience, adaptation, and finding new ways to engage with life. Empowerment comes from knowledge, understanding the disease, knowing your options, and making informed decisions about your care. It also comes from community, connecting with others who understand what you're going through, whether they're through support groups, online communities, or simply talking to friends and family. And of course, empowerment comes from self-compassion, recognizing that it's okay to have tough days. and that taking care of yourself is not just important, it's essential. To those living with Parkinson's, you are not defined by your disease. Yes, Parkinson's is part of your life, but it doesn't have to be the whole story. There are still so many opportunities for joy, connection, and fulfillment, even in the face of challenges. You have to find what works for you, whether that's a new hobby, a form of exercise you enjoy, or simply spending time with the people you love. For everyone else listening, whether you have a loved one with Parkinson's or you're just interested in learning more, I encourage you to stay informed and be an advocate. The more we understand about Parkinson's, the better we can support those who live with it. And remember, every small action can make a big difference. Thank you for joining me today on this deep dive into Parkinson's disease. I hope you found this episode informative, empowering, and maybe even a little inspiring. Until next time, remember, you have the strength, the heart, and the support to continue your journey. Be safe.